Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Baston, and I'd like to welcome each of you to the Man Group's summer series of free webinars. Today's webinar is titled Evaluating Activity Against the Standard. We are glad you're with us today. In just a minute, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dan Mann. Before I do, let me go over a couple of quick items. First, I want to make sure everyone can see the presentation properly before we get started. On your screen right now, you should see a picture of Tiger Woods and his coach, Sean Foley. So if you're having any issues, please let me know. Secondly, on your control panel near the bottom, you should see the word chat. And if you will click on this tab, it will open a dialog box for you to submit questions or offer comments. Lastly, just so we don't have any background noise, we have everyone muted during the presentation. So if you have any questions that you'd like answered, please just type them in the chat portion of your control panel and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. Again, we welcome you now and would like to turn it over to the founder and owner of the Man Group, Dan Mann.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. We're so excited to have everyone join us today about our continuing series on the role of the retail store manager. If you are a retail store manager joining us today, I hope you are. Maybe you've stepped off the sales floor for a few moments to invest in yourself, and we're proud of you for doing that. And we're looking forward to offering something in the next 15 or 20 minutes that you can take back out and make a difference in your business today. This is a part of an ongoing series that we've had this summer on retail store management. Let me take a few moments and review with you the 7 steps of manager success. If you were not here for our 2 previous sessions, this is in the context of the 7 secrets to management success. Let's take a look at them. First of all, the first thing we talked about is how to set the bar and how to set the bar, what to set the bar on, setting the standard. Today we're talking about evaluating activity against that standard. Look forward to getting into that in just a second. The next step is removing obstacles. How do you remove the obstacles to excellent performance? Following that is getting buy-in and getting everybody on the same team, on the same page, and pulling in the same direction. How do you do that? How do you select the right team members? Team selection is crucial. Having the right players on the team, the right seats on the bus, crucial to success. Once you've got your team set up, motivation and discipline, key foundational element of retail management success. And the seventh and final secret to management success, what we consider the foundational principle, the most important attribute for a retail store manager, that is communication effectiveness. But today we're talking about properly evaluating activity against the standard. Now we assume if you've attended the first 2 sessions, you understand that you must set a standard, set an expectation so that people know what is expected of them and what their minimum acceptable performance is. So once that standard has been set, how do we evaluate activity against the standard? Look at the word evaluate for a sec. Pass judgment, judge, appraise, measure, assess, value. It is your role as a retail store manager to set the standard and then see what the performance is of your team against that standard. Take a look at the picture we started with. The coach, here's Tiger Woods, the world's leading golfer. He's standing next to a coach. Now, do you suppose this coach is a better golfer than Tiger Woods? Do you think this coach could score better on a golf course? Is he on the tour winning money? No, I doubt that this coach makes a 10th or a 4th of what Tiger Woods makes per year. And yet he has a very specific skill set, and that skill set is the role of coach. He's not playing the game, he's observing. He's observing behavior, he's observing activity, and matching it against what is the proper performance. So even though you may not be the best salesperson, you know what great sales look like. Even though you may not be the best visual merchandiser, you know what visual merchandise standards are. And it is the role of the coach to observe and evaluate. I think the very best coach in the country today in any sport is Mike Krzyzewski, pictured here. Now, all of you University of North Carolina Tar Heel fans, of which I'm a member, relax. I don't favor Duke, but you have to love the coach. Krzyzewski is phenomenal. Now look at this man sitting on the bench. He's not playing the game. He's watching the game. He is evaluating world-class athletes performing what they do extraordinarily well. They do it better than he does it. And yet he is still sitting there observing and watching. His job is to evaluate. He pulls the team to the side one by one and says, I don't like what you just did. Do it differently. Here's the way I want it. Or, hey, I really like what you just did. Continue to do more of the same. That's what I'm looking for. The coach observes. The coach evaluates. The coach understands what he or she wants, and they're on the sidelines watching the activity to make sure the activity is in the right direction. Now, in order to be successful at this, you got to have the process. So here's a picture of the process in the context of basketball. Player number one, I want you dribbling to the left. Player number two, start at the baseline and come up to the top of the key. Player number three, set a pick and then roll across to the other side. So each person has a specific step. This is the process. This is the play. Now for retail management, we must know what we're looking for, have an outline, have an understanding of the process that we want. I want you to do this. I want you to be standing here near the front of the door. I want you to greet customers in this way. I want you to introduce customers to new products in this way. And so it's important that you have a clear-cut process, and it's important that you have standards. What is expected? The process and the standards. Now, when you hear standards, you may think of a minimum acceptable standard as if it were a metric or a measurable. But in this context, the standard is a flag. And a standard is actually the flag. And so as we're using it in this metaphor, that flag is your brand, your store brand. What is it that you want customers to experience in your store? How should it feel? How should the store look? How should employees behave? What is the culture or environment that shoppers walk into? That is the standard. That is your brand. It is who you are. And as a retail store manager, it's your job to set that standard, fly that flag and say, here's how we behave. Here's how we greet customers. Here's how we sell to customers. And those standards are yours to set. They are yours to evaluate. They are yours to enforce. Now, what parts of your store require a process? What parts of your store require a standard? It's important that you evaluate across the board. What needs a standard? What needs a process? We've gone over this list before, but it bears repeating. You need a process and you need standards for store maintenance. You need process and standards for product presentation. How does your product look on the floor? You need a process and standards for team selection. Who's the ideal target employee to be working for you? Once you've got that team, you need standards and process for team building. What's the culture or environment that your team members work in? What's it like to work for you as a boss? You need standards and process. You need standards and process for training. What are the minimum acceptable standards for product knowledge, for fit attributes, and for being able to sell and do customer service? And that brings us to the final and I think most important element where we need a process and we need standards, and that is the customer service experience. How do shoppers experience us? How do shoppers experience our store? And what should we be doing to provide that excellent, exceptional customer shopping experience? But to be effective at this, to be great at evaluation, to be great at assessing, to be great as a coach, you must know what you want. What does that service experience look like? How do you coach store maintenance activities? What are the ideal activities and how do you want them? Now, we have a pretty serious obstacle as retail store managers, and that is that we are wearing lots of hats. And it's a problem. You know, you're wearing the hat of the store buyer. You're wearing the hat of maybe sometimes a salesperson. You're wearing the hat of counting the register and doing the accounting. You're wearing the hat of checking in new product, getting it put in a proper location on the store, sales floor. You're responsible for store maintenance standards. You're responsible for hiring, for firing, for writing the schedule. So as you go through these many different hats, How do you have the time to evaluate? How do you have the time to coach? So it's very important that we understand, I recognize you have a difficult task wearing many different hats all at a given time. And so it's important then that we take a look. How do we get started? How do we begin the process of evaluating performance? If we've not been doing this, how do we bring this to the table and succeed? Well, first, imagine yourself, in fact, picture yourself in this picture. You are taking the lead as coach. First things first, you must let the staff know that you're the coach. Let the staff know you will be observing. You will be giving feedback. I'm going to help you. I'm going to assure that you do a successful job delivering our brilliant customer service experience. I'm certain that if you've not been in a coaching role before with your team, this may land a little new or differently. But every team has unique roles. A crucial role for any team is that person who's observing and offering feedback, evaluating activity against the standard. And so, first and foremost, be the coach and let the staff know you're taking the role of coach. Next, you're going to begin to work the floor a little differently. So, while your retail experience may be working with customers, putting out product, doing store maintenance, we're going to encourage you to begin to work the floor while you are also observing the floor. You are going to step in the role of player coach. So here you are, you're working the floor. You can't turn your back to the front door. You're facing the front door. You can't take your eyes off the cash wrap. You're paying attention to the cash wrap because you want to make sure every customer in the door is greeted properly. You want to make sure every customer at the cash wrap has to wait a reasonable period of time to have their product wrung out and put in a bag and sent on their way. You're going to look across the sales floor at the dressing rooms. You're going to look throughout your store to make sure everybody is doing their job and your role, while whatever it is that you're also doing with whatever hat you have on, you're also observing activity and sales floor performance. Crucial for you to take that role. Now, in our job at the Man Group, we oftentimes develop new programs for retailers, and part of our work is discovery. Dozens and dozens of times in the discovery process in a retail store, I'll put on the store outfit and wear a name tag, give myself some Windex and a paper towel, and I will work my way through the store, maintaining glass and wiping down countertops. But as I'm doing that job, I move relatively close to a sales activity, to a salesperson and a customer talking. I can be busy working in store maintenance activities while also listening in and observing what it is that salespeople are doing. I've done this hundreds of times, and it's a great way to pay attention. I'm doing multiple jobs, but I have my ear up and I can hear exactly what is happening at the same time. Great football quarterbacks do the same thing. Quarterbacks walk to the line, they're ready to back up and throw a pass, but while they're throwing that pass or preparing to throw that pass, they're checking out the defense. They're looking at seeing what their tight end is doing and what the wide receivers are doing. You're managing the full activity of the store while you're doing the job that you do. If you have not been doing this as a retail store manager, this level of multitasking must become an area in which you are proficient. Working with customers, working with product, working with store maintenance, while also observing everything else that's going on the floor. And by the way, this picture, I think, a true representation of modern day retail. Okay, bad joke. So whenever you're going to be evaluating the standard, whenever you're going to be coaching people to success, it is crucial that you broadcast and communicate your standards. People must know what's expected of them. You can't be a coach and set expectations if you don't communicate those expectations. Here's the store maintenance standards. Here are the product presentation standards. Here's our customer service standards. Explain them, get agreement, get buy-in. This is that session one we talked about in our last meeting. It's setting the bar. Here's what we expect. You must communicate those standards and then coach to those standards. Now, if you don't take anything else away from the session today, write this phrase down. Manage activity, not results. Manage activity, not results. Too many store managers Get focused on UPTs, average transaction value, conversion rate. And while I am an advocate of each of these metrics, these are not the metrics that you manage your people with. You can't pull a 6-month-old employee, or I should say an employee with 6 months tenure in your store, to the side and say, hey, Bill, look here, your UPTs are 2.4 and we need them to be 2.9. Now go get them. I want those UPTs up from 2.4 to 2.5 by Friday. Now go after it. Well, that simply is not effective. What is the employee supposed to do? How am I supposed to raise my UPTs from 2.4 to 2.9? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. That's why, as a manager, it's less important that these metrics be part of the management behavior and they are part of your evaluation behavior, but you're managing activity. What is the employee doing that's contributing to their 2.4 UPTs? Are they not asking enough questions? Are they not suggesting additional product? Are they missing opportunities to add on in the sale? So as a manager, your job is to observe the activity and coach on the activity. Let the results be your own personal takeaway so that you can use that to then look for improvement, congratulate improvement, reinforce improvement, but your focus is not on the KPIs as it relates to managing the staff. Your KPIs are used for evaluation. You manage activity, not results. Crucial step for you as a retail store manager. Listen, we've got a lot of stuff here we've covered. I know that I may not have addressed everything, and so we'd like to offer an opportunity by using your chat window in your control panel to type in any questions that you have on this topic, and we've allowed some good time here today to explore any specific questions that you may have. Feel free to type in your questions, and for this, we'll turn it back to Mark to facilitate that.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. We've got a few questions. Our first question today is, I am a new manager. No one listens to me. What are the steps that I need to take in order to introduce myself as a coach?
Well, good question. And, I can imagine when you look at some of those young basketball coaches that, in fact, one of the great coaches in college ranks, boy, I wish I could remember his name. The coach for Butler, his name's Brad something, but guy was 33 years old, young guy. He just went into the NBA now as a coach of the Boston Celtics. He has got probably half his team is his age or older. Do you think he walks in and apologizes that he's the coach? You think he walks in and apologizes that he's younger than those guys? Absolutely not. The role of manager is a vital role that's very unique. You may be great at sales, doesn't make you great as a manager, and vice versa. You may be great at sales. That doesn't mean you have to be the number one salesperson on the floor. What it means is you've got to be a great coach. So my first advice to you, new manager, is to be confident. You're in the position you're in, obviously for a skill set that's crucial. And that skill set is these powers of observation, setting the bar, and then coaching to that standard. So I would have a quiet confidence. I certainly am not going to rule with an iron fist in such a way that, hey, I'm the boss, bow down to me. I'm in charge. You have to do what I say. That's power and control. I'm talking about real leadership. I'd make sure 20% of my time is spent in coaching. Yeah, 20% of my time, and maybe not each day. Some days you have to be buried in buys, in buying, or in store maintenance. But over the course of a week, can you dedicate 20% of your time to great coaching? I think that's an effort I'd want to give. You can't spend all of your time coaching. You drive your people crazy. Sometimes you have to play the game. You have to be in the middle of the game. So that's cool with that. But strategies for setting expectations, I think if you will develop this competency, it will be an ongoing way of working. And that setting expectation can be both disciplinary as well as rewarding. In which case you say, "Hey, Rebecca, good job. I just noticed the trash went out today at 3 o'clock. I remember talking with you last week about the trash going out every day at 3. Man, it's great to know that I can come double check and everything looks good promptly at 3:05. Well done. So thank you for doing that." So that sort of reinforcement, that's in that standard setting. I like a morning check-in. And Emily, you suggested that. I think that's good. I like that morning check-in. Here's what we're doing today. Our goal today, folks, it's a quiet Tuesday. We're up against $6,500. That's our goal. By the way, we have some guests coming in today shortly after lunch. And also, I'm going to be looking at a product line during a meeting today at 4 o'clock. That's the schedule. Midday, check in with people, walk the floor, and say, here's how we're doing. By the way, I see you've got $2,000 in sales, Jim. Congratulations. That sort of touching base, I think, is really solid. One other thing on the expectations that I personally like, I really like writing out a daily work list and taping it actually to the cash wrap, not in view of the customer, but only in view of the staff. And I do one every single day, my daily work list. I'd like my socks reorganized. I'd like the back room swept. I'd like all mirrors washed down. I would like the front table refolded. I would like our pants rehung according to size. A list of things I'd like to get accomplished today, and I'd like to see people go grab a task, get it accomplished, come back, and initial out beside it that they got that job done. That sort of expectations say there's work to be done every day. I'd like to see everybody volunteer in various ways to do it, and I think that really works well. Bottom line is we are going to be setting expectations. The bottom line is we are going to be following up. Okay? Well, listen, that's all the questions I see, and I appreciate the questions. Please feel free to email us with any specific questions that you have that you would like to have us answer. We'll be happy to follow up directly in an email. Or if you'd like a phone call, happy to do that as well. Well, let me wrap up with just a quick couple of comments about our Man University. Now, our next session is coming up in October. It's October 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th here in beautiful Asheville, North Carolina. If you're an owner or a manager, I know of nothing you can do to improve your leadership and profitability in your retail environment than spending 3 days at Man University. We are going to give you the specific development skills to lead with impact, motivate and lead as a player coach, be a confident and competent communicator, how to use strategic leadership for specific results, and those are dollars I'm talking about, results in your business, how to lead change, and team building. Everything we're talking about in this webinar series, we're expanding across 3 days in Asheville. It is a revolutionary, dynamic, very dynamic program, and we'd love to have you join us here. If you'd like to know more about that, please contact us here at the Man Group. We have upcoming dates for this particular program. The Man U webinar series is coming up 16th, 23rd, 30th, and 6th. We're covering each of the 7 steps. We'll let you know that the ones you've missed are available. Go to our website, and you can check the YouTube channel out and observe the previous webinars. Listen, thanks for your time today. I hope this has been helpful. We look forward to seeing you at our next session on August the 16th. Thanks a lot, everyone.